time to go to film school. And we're going to go back in time. I can't wait to hear from Joe Fortunato. He's going to take us to one of those iconic baseball flicks. This music behind me is from the movie. But I'm going to let Joe take us to the show. Joe Fortunato now joins us, 93.5, 1590 WAKR. Good morning, Joe. Take it from there, my friend.
Good morning, Ray. And I hear it in the background, the Oscar-nominated musical score from our film today. The Natural from 1984 came out in May 11th, 1984. So we're celebrating an anniversary there. It was directed by the great Barry Levinson, written by Bernard Malamud, also Robert Towne, who we lost a short while ago, and Phil Dusenberry. It stars, of course, Robert Redford, as well as Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey. What a great cast. In fact, that cast includes 3 Oscar winners and 3 Oscar nominees. So quite the cast there. As I mentioned briefly, it had 4 Oscar nominations, including supporting actors for Glenn Close, cinematography, art direction, and that great and memorable musical score that you just played. It was not a blockbuster, but a very profitable movie. It doubled its budget and grossed nearly $50 million in the United States. And it was, as I mentioned, it has a number of Oscar winners in the film. Robert Redford was actually 47 when he played this, and he plays the character Roy Hobbs at age 19 and age 35, and yet he was 47, which is one of my, and I'll go through a few of them here today, little quirky pet peeves about baseball movies. I was just joking the other day that, especially in the old days, baseball movies would always have a 40-year-old star playing a rookie baseball player. I don't know why that is, but Ronald Reagan was in a baseball movie I saw the other day. Jimmy Stewart, they were all playing rookies. Crazy. But I digress. Anyway, the film takes place in 1939, which is makes it the 100th year anniversary of baseball, and that was the year that the Baseball Hall of Fame opened. So there's a little bit of synergy going on there. The story was adapted by the book by Bernard Malamud, and they had changed the plot from the book a little bit to the movie to make it a little bit more uplifting. And a lot of the characters and symbols in the movie and in the book were heavily influenced by the writings of Homer and Greek mythology. It was also based on the King Arthur legends, like the broken bat is the broken sword, and Pop Fisher, the coach, is the Fisher King, the pennant is the Holy Grail, and so on and so on. So there's some classical literature lineage that goes into this great baseball film. The filmmakers were scouting the country looking for a stadium to use in the games, and they had to have the right vintage stadium. That was always tough to find in 1984. They needed something nondescript with kind of a pre-World War II feel, and what they found was Buffalo's War Memorial Stadium, which was built in 1937 and then demolished in 1988, so just a few years after they used it for filming in the movie. Our local folks here in Ohio will appreciate this little tidbit. Among the actual baseball players that appeared in extras in the film were the legendary Joe Charbonneau, who played in the majors with the Cleveland Indians, for those who don't know, and a local favorite here even after all these decades. And Barry Levinson did the uncredited voice of the Knights radio play-by-play. He was going to hire a professional and decided to do it himself. So there's sort of an audio cameo by Barry Levinson there.
Joe Fortunato looking at the movie The Natural. Joe, you know, the 7 Degrees of Ray Warner, one of my good friends, was an extra up in the War Memorial Stadium. So he would sit there every day in the attire and the clothes, and he'd have a couple of stick figures sitting beside him. But he said it was fun for the filming of The Natural there in Buffalo for the stadium. What else do you have for us from The Natural?
A number of things. We mentioned the score. And it was written by Randy Newman, the great Randy Newman. He was actually had a cameo in the film as well as the piano player in the party where Roy Hobbs becomes ill, and he is the piano player in that scene. This is kind of fun. I don't know. It's really more of how closely they followed the rule, the rules of old timey baseball. Back in the day, there was a very strict edict from the commissioner of baseball that would require clean-shaven countenance. And that continued really up until the 1970s. So they couldn't have, beards and stuff like that. Yet in the film, Pop Fisher has a mustache, Red Blow has a mustache. And then another little quirky baseball rule was in the film, just before Roy Hobbs' final at bat, there's a close-up shot of the home plate being cleaned. Okay, that's not that unusual. But while we see the umpire's hand visible, he's standing in front of the mound, not behind the plate, or in front of the plate with his rear end facing the mound. I'm getting a little wordy here. But the detail here, what I'm getting to is, this is the care that the filmmakers took to be accurate, because umpires were taught back in those days to clean the plate from the mound side, so they're back facing the mound, not the fans, because to have their rear end facing the crowd was considered an insulting gesture. So that little tiny small detail is present in the film. And one other thing that I'll mention, I talked about some of my little pet peeves about baseball movies. And when I say pet peeves, it's just things that I wonder about. They don't really bother me. But just like other films, Damn Yankees, it happens every spring, the original Angels in the Outfield in the 40s, all these teams are featured winning and striving to win the pennant. That's their goal. It's never the World Series. And that always bugs me, because obviously the World Series, has been around for 100 and some years. So I've even asked baseball historians about that, and they've always tried to explain to me, well, baseball was more regional back then, and it was local rivalries that would go for the pennant and stuff, and I buy all that, but I just still can't get over the fact that the ultimate goal in these movies was always, let's win the pennant, never the World Series. I don't care if the pennant is important, there's still one more layer of greatness to achieve, and that always kind of bugs me a little bit.
Joe Fortunato Film School, again, the movie The Natural. I know you talked on Robert Redford and such, but you opened up with this wonderful cast, right? I mean, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, even Joe Don Baker as the Whammer, Barbara Hershey. It is a great cast of then, and then years later, you look back at that cast and realize how good it was.
Oh, absolutely. And, I don't really have a lot of casting quirks or what might have been, like we usually do, but to use the obvious cliche, they really hit it out of the park with this one.
Well done, my friend. The Natural. Good weekend to check it out with all the good baseball going on these days with the Guardians and certainly the Rubber Ducks. Well, Joe, not too long, a little bit more than 24 hours away, you and I are going to be down at Jilly's 12 o'clock noon for your film school on the road, my friend, with your all-time favorite movie, The Jaws.
Yeah, well, I like to say The Jaws. But you're absolutely right. We've been talking about it for weeks, and it's finally here. Fortunato Film School presentation of Jaws is tomorrow, July 27th, at Jilly's Music Room in downtown Akron. The doors are going to open at 11 a.m. You can get a wonderful brunch there. The film is going to start at 12 noon. And just one final time, for those who don't know how this works, Ray and I will say a few introductory words about the film, and then we're going to do a live screening with me doing live commentary on the film. So I'm going to talk about all kinds of production stories, trivia, movie mistakes is always a fun thing that we talk about. So it's both fun and educational. And if you love Jaws, you're going to want to learn all this behind-the-scenes stuff. And if you've never seen Jaws, well, I forgive you, but come on down and watch it with us together, and we'll enjoy it that way. And it's just a wonderful time. That's the Jilly's Music Room. Great brunch. The tickets are moving fast. I know we still have some left, but they are reserved seats, so you'll want to pick and choose where you sit. So go online and get that today, and you can do that by either going on Facebook and searching for Fortunato Film School, or you can go to Jilly's website, and the link there is to get the tickets is on that link as well. And we just want to see everybody down there tomorrow. Have a good time at Jilly's, see a great film, have some fun, learn something, and I just can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. We've done this. This will be our third time. We did it with Raiders of the Lost Ark. We did it with Psycho last fall. This one, it's Joe's all-time favorite movie. As Joe mentioned, we get up, we do a brief introduction. Joe kind of previews the movie. He does his thing, which is unbelievable. And then up on stage afterwards, we'll do a Q&A with you as well if you have some questions about the movie or Joe's presentation. So it's a lot of fun. Hope to see a lot of